Modern-day England was once a low-lying region that was flooded and turned into an island when the Ice Age ended and sea levels rose. Although modern humans originally lived there in the Upper Paleolithic, the name Angles came from a Germanic group who moved there in the 5th and 6th centuries, hailing from the Anglia Peninsula. Hunting persisted as a food source during the Ice Age and the Iron Age, but as farming techniques advanced, nomadic peoples were able to establish communities and the first farmsteads appeared on the landscape. The Bronze Age, which lasted from about 2500 BCE to 800 CE, was named for the people known as the Celts, who used bronze and copper to make tools, weapons, and ornamental goods. Large stone gathering places, or henges, like Avebury and Stonehenge, were built during this time. Don't forget to subscribe to Ancient History for fascinating insights into the mysteries of the ancient world and captivating historical narratives. The Roman Emperor Julius Caesar eventually learned about the Celts and attempted to subjugate England in 55 BCE with a military campaign. Following Emperor Claudius's successful invasion of England in 43 CE, the Romans established a colony there and governed it for the following 600 years. They carried aspects of their own civilization with them. They built towns and highways, complete with theaters, baths, aqueducts, and forums. The Anglo-Roman population expanded with the arrival of traders and craftsmen. About 450 AD, 40 years later, the local monarch Vortigern called in Danish mercenaries to protect his region of England against Pictish and Scotch attacks, but the Danes betrayed their host and founded England's first Saxon kingdom. As a result of further mercenary forces invading, the rival Saxon and Anglo kingdoms that were perpetually at war were patched together. These conflicts were referred to as the Dark Ages, a time when Anglo-Saxon literature and art underwent a refined, Christian-inspired transformation. The repeated invasion of Viking troops, which established towns and conquered Saxon kingdoms, forcibly terminated this period. Following numerous conflicts, the distinct kingdoms were eventually brought together under Æthelstan's rule, resulting in the creation of a single England. Following Edward the Confessor's death in 1066, 3 men fought for the English throne: William of Normandy, Harald Hardrada, King of Norway, and the man who eventually gained the kingdom, Harold I. 2 invasions resulted from this rivalry. Harold I routed the Viking force at Stamford Bridge, but William, who succeeded Harold in becoming king on Christmas Day 1066, beat Harold at Hastings. In order to maintain control over the vanquished Saxons, William granted his own lords extensive lands and built several enormous stone castles. He gave the order to take a thorough inventory of all English lands in order to raise money. This project resulted in the Domesday Book. Following William, King John seized what he wanted from the populace with force because he felt he was above the law. The barons, on the other hand, rejected his requests, and in 1215 they gave the king an ultimatum that would later be known as the Magna Carta. King John passed away the year it was signed, leaving his 9-year-old son Henry to succeed as king in 1216. 1/3 of England's population perished during the course of the following 100 years as a result of the Black Death, a disease. The Tudor Dynasty started in 1485 with Henry Tudor's victory against Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth Field. Henry VII was a smart ruler, but upon the death of his son Arthur, he made the decision that his younger son Henry should wed Catherine, Arthur's widow. The marriage came after his coronation and that of his son, Henry VIII, who was then 18. Henry divorced Catherine after 20 years of marriage and the birth of only one daughter, Mary. Catherine did not bear him a boy. He severed his ties with the Catholic Church and proclaimed himself the head of the Church of England in order to secure the divorce. He wed Anne Boleyn in 1533. Elizabeth was the daughter of this union. He had Anne stand trial for treason 3 years later. In 1536, she was put to death at the Tower of London. Henry VIII had 6 marriages. Edward is the son he fathered with Jane Seymour during his 3rd marriage. Not long after her son's birth, Jane passed away. After Henry died in 1547, Edward, then 9 years old, succeeded to the throne. However, when Edward died at the age of 15, the crown went to his cousin Jane Grey, who was overthrown in 9 days by Mary, Edward's older half-sister, who wanted England to return to Catholicism. Elizabeth succeeded her as queen when she passed away in 1558, childless. During the affluent era known as England's Golden Age, the fleet that Henry VIII had constructed became England's primary means of defense and the method by which the country traveled, colonized, and traded throughout the world under Elizabeth I. Elizabeth never got hitched. James VI of Scotland became James I of England in 1603, as she had declared as she was dying that she wanted him to be her heir. His personal debts and Catholic baptism caused some division and resulted in the historic Gunpowder Plot, an infamous attempt at assassination. In 1625, his son Charles succeeded him to the kingdom. Because of his conviction that God had made him king, Charles disregarded the English Parliament and chose to rule by royal order between 1629 and 1640. This decision ultimately resulted in the English Civil War. On January 26, 1649, Charles was tried, found guilty of treason, and had his head severed. At the Battle of Worcester on September 3, 1651, King Charles II's royalist army was routed by Oliver Cromwell's parliamentarian New Model Army, bringing an end to the war. Following Charles's banishment, the Commonwealth of England, subsequently the Protectorate, led by Oliver Cromwell, took the throne from the monarchy. Following Cromwell's death in 1658, his son Richard succeeded him as Lord Protector, but he lacked his father's skill. After his resignation in May 1659, Parliament made arrangements for Charles II to succeed him. After popular Protestant William of Orange wed James II's daughter, he received letters from a number of English parliamentarians protesting to the Catholic monarch James II in 1685, the year of his accession. After accepting the offer, he set out for London on November 5, 1688, landing at Brixham. James II escaped to France prior to William's arrival, and on April 21, 1689, he and his queen, Mary II, were crowned. They shared the reign until Mary passed away in 1694. William continued to rule for 10 more years before passing away in 1702, when Anne, Mary's sister, took the throne. The transition from the Georgian era to the Edwardian period marked a pivotal time in England's history, characterized by significant social, political, and industrial developments. Under Queen Victoria's reign, England witnessed unprecedented advancements in the arts, industrialization, and technological innovation. However, the dawn of the 20th century brought the devastation of World War I, a conflict that reshaped the global landscape and led to pivotal social changes, including expanded voting rights for women. Despite the challenges and upheavals, England emerged from the war as a transformed nation, poised to face the uncertainties of the modern era. Following World War I, industrial workers in England went on strike for better pay and working conditions, which paved the way for the general strike of 1926 and the Depression financial crisis that followed. After his father, King George V, passed away in January 1936, his eldest son, Edward VIII, took over as king. However, Edward had developed feelings for Wallis Simpson, an American divorcee. A member of the royal family could not marry a divorcee, even in the 1930s. Since Edward was unwilling to end his marriage, he abdicated on December 11, 1936, handing the throne to his brother. In 1939, as England resisted Nazi Germany's aggression, war broke out once more. After it ended in 1945, London and England started to rebuild. The Festival of Britain was held in 1951 to commemorate the country's economic resurgence. Thanks to the birth control pill, there was a major social and sexual upheaval in the 1960s. Youth culture was led by bands like the Beatles, and swinging London became a center for fashion trends worldwide. Significant technological developments also occurred during this decade, such as the historic moon landing, improvements in supersonic travel, and England's admission into the European Economic Community, EEC. During this time, London also cemented its standing as a major international financial hub. But as the 20th century came to an end, England's influence started to wane. Only time will tell where it will ultimately stand on the international scene, and its destiny and status in the 21st century are yet unknown. That's all for this video. We will be back soon with another informative video. Don't forget to like and share this video. To keep exploring ancient history together, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Until next time!